Good evening. Warm greetings to everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. This is the first of three sessions, an initiative to help all of us actually to wrap up the year 2022 and set off into 2023 with new and renewed energy. So as you're aware, our topic is stepping back and then looking ahead, moving forward. It's all the same sentiment. My name is Divendri. I actually take care of a small center of the Brahma Kumaris in Durban, and I'm really, really pleased to be spending time with you. As you know, our session is quite short. It's a 30-minute session. It's really just a little springboard, an opportunity to create little ripples in the pond, to get all of us pondering and thinking, reflecting. But what I really would request of you is to use whatever input you receive in these 30 minutes as pointers for your reflective process for the coming week. And then you'll receive another dose next Thursday, and then the final dose the Thursday after. And I think it's actually wonderful to have the space of a week to actually engage in these reflective exercises. So you can do it in your own personal time. For myself, I feel that the early morning hours are really wonderful for reflection. There's no real huge demands and expectations of the self in the early morning hours. That normally starts from about 7, 8 a.m. onwards. But before that, there is time for the self, and it's worth capitalizing on. And then again, in the evenings when you've freshened up after a long day and you're winding down and relaxing, it's also a wonderful opportunity to take stock. I would actually like to share my screen with you because I want to use a slideshow as we go on. Are you all able to see this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's wonderful. So,
yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mrs. Mbeki. So the first exercise is it's something quite spontaneous, actually. I'd like for you to just cast your gaze upon the images that are in front of you. And something on this page is going to grab your attention. A lot of them might, or a few of them might, but there's one particular image that's going to especially grab your attention. And I want you to sort of focus on that particular image, whichever it is. So cast your gaze over all of them, see what grabs your attention, and then zoom in on that particular aspect and take a closer look. And as you are looking closely at this particular image that has caught your eye, I want you to observe the feelings that are stirring within, the feelings that are cropping up internally. And ask yourself the question as you're looking at this particular picture. What exactly is it about this image that has caught my attention? Why is it that I'm drawn to this image? Does it remind me of something, a particular experience, an incident, an encounter, a memory? Or is it a wish of mine, a desire that I have? Perhaps it's an intention that I hold. Perhaps it's an energy that I can experience within me, or I wish to experience within me. And just see what thoughts filter into the mind. And now think back. Think back to your journey from the beginning of 2022. 11 months have passed. And see if in some way this image is related to some significant moment, some significant experience, some significant intention that was part of your journey in 2022. I know for myself that that very peaceful lady looking out the window in quiet contemplation, holding something in her hand, it struck me. It resonated with something inside of myself. And I feel this year was especially for me a year in which I really kept looking in, checking. And somehow, I felt that sort of resonance with her. So I wish actually that we had the chance to get feedback from all of you, because it would be very interesting to actually hear about the image that you chose and what exactly was the significance for you. But time doesn't permit us. But if you don't mind, would it be possible for you to type it out on the chat box, just so that we can all quickly take a quiz? Which image stood out for you, and what was the significance for you, and in any way can you relate it to your journey of 2022? Feel free to just quickly type it out on the chat box. Thank you, Linda. It's nice to see some of your contributions coming up. Roshni, you cannot have apples in your home. It really seems like for the few that shared their images, that beauty, the enjoyment of beauty and the search of beauty seem to be a deep part of your experience of the year. And that's really beautiful. When it comes to reflection, when it comes to the whole aspect of looking back, that's what today's particular session is all about, looking back. And then next week will be, where am I at right now? And then the following week will be, okay, so where am I stepping forward to? And so it's a very organic flow and a natural process. But in particular today, when it comes to looking back, I just want to share some of my personal reflections, because especially today, knowing that I was going to be with all of you, it's been on my mind. And I can really say, for me, that there's something very magical and very powerful about holding an intention, especially when it comes to reflection. Reflection can be very, very powerful. It can be very revealing. And reflection can actually be the springboard to very beautiful insights that bring deep transformation. Because the process of reflection is almost like an entry point or a step towards entering into a portal, I feel. A portal that's almost my inner world. And what makes it smooth, what makes it very pleasant, what makes it easy is holding the intention. Because there's a little bit of a snag, actually. The snag could be something that I call analysis paralysis. And that's when reflection goes wrong. So analysis paralysis or reflection gone wrong is going back in time and thinking very deeply about stuff, but approaching that deep reflective space almost on a punitive level, with regret, with remorse, with guilt, with criticism of the self, belittling of the self. And all of this sort of might contribute to this sense of disheartenment. And that type of reflection, obviously, you'll agree with me, is very unhealthy. So it could be the very same experiences and journey that we're reflecting on, but the intention is what holds me in a sacred space and allows me to actually really enjoy and draw the precious value of something and the benefit of something. And very often, we might not actually really know before we embark on a process of reflection what is to be revealed, what insights are going to dawn on me. But if I hold the intention that I really sincerely would like to meet that best part of me, I really would sincerely like to see how I've used the best part of me. And I also would like to see the times in which I missed actually the opportunity to use the best part of me. And I might have unknowingly or sometimes even knowingly lapsed into using the not so good parts of me. But then I would really like to see how I can prevent myself from following the same pattern in the future. And I'd really like to see what healing is required internally and what empowerment is required internally, so that it can always become better and it can always be about moving forward, even though I'm stepping backwards. And I really just feel that if I have an intention like that, it's going to actually create an atmosphere. so that whatever it is that dawns on me, whatever trickles into my mind and intellect, whatever is revealed to me in terms of insights, I will be in a very healthy space where I'll be able to embrace it and take it on as something that is actually for me, for my growth and for my development. And like I said, not to use the insights that dawn on me and engage with them in a way in which I just continue to go into that downward spiral of disheartenment and guilt and regret and criticism, etc. So intention is actually very, very important. But more than intention, it's opportunity. I can hold the intention, but I obviously need to give myself enough opportunity to enjoy the process. And I did already mention for myself that I find the early morning times and then later on in the evening, those are good times. But I must confess that there are times in between in which I feel, for me, reflection is very powerful. And surprisingly for me, it's when I'm driving. And I think it's really just because I'm quiet and I'm alone and I am, in a sense, concentrating, I'm focusing. And all of those things seem for me to be ingredients in which it's almost like an ideal platform. And I have this habit where I have the faith, actually, that if I ask a question, the answer is going to actually appear. And I've trained myself along the way not to ask a question and then to hammer myself there and then, wanting to sort of excavate an answer from deep within. I feel all of this is a very gentle process. And so when you hold an intention and you ask a question and you allow yourself that space and that opportunity, the right time will bring the right insight. And it really will be like this trickling into the mind and intellect, like a penny drop. And when you gain that insight, it will really be like, yes, this makes perfect sense. And now I can see the full picture. I'm so clear about this. I'm so glad, actually, that I can see the full picture. You might have your own experiences, I'm sure, how the reflective process works for you. And it's a pity that we have a very short session because it would be nice to hear. But if you would like to share some of your tips and tricks, please feel free to type it in the chat box. So going back to this thing of opportunity, it is to create those moments. Apart from the time, it's also the activity that I'm choosing to engage in for the reflective process. And I'm going to go back to my slideshow, actually. These are some examples of different reflective exercises that you can engage in to really sort of unpack 2022 in a beautiful and empowering and in a rich way. The one suggestion is to actually take the time to draw your life timeline for 2022. This is a sample. The months that I included here are what I chose to be moments in which there were very significant occurrences in my journey, things that really stood out and were swing moments, for me. So you could include more months if they were more significant encounters for you or less, or you could even choose to include all 12 months if you want to. But in your life timeline, however you want to actually do it, the important thing is to sort of just in summary map it out all on one sheet so that at a glance you can actually see the whole journey. So for me, there's two values. One is the actual process of creating it, because in the active involvement and engagement of the eyes, hands, brain, heart, all of it together, it's actually also the process of ordering everything. It's an active process of engagement and reflection, and it's part of reflection, actually. When I'm working out how to say this, where to place this, is that actually something that should go on my timeline or not? Should I include that as well? That is the reflective process, and it's dynamic. It's very dynamic. So some type of things that you can think about, especially when you think about how you set up in the beginning of the year. We all have these brilliant resolutions. So going back to the beginning of 2022, what were the stirrings in your soul? What were your feelings for the rest of the year ahead? So you can set off like that. And then you can, add your little bits and bobs in between. But basically, it's to give yourself this chance to think of the significant moments and to reflect on it. And also to reflect, apart from what happened, on the key insights that these moments offered. And this is actually where we extract the richness and the blessing and the power of these experiences. And sometimes if we miss the reflective process, we get stuck at the level of what happened, what was the outcome. But we don't take that deeper step inwards to ask ourselves, so, what did I learn from it? How did it help me grow? And what does it even say about who I am on the inside? What gifts and treasures from deep within were revealed to me through these experiences? Those are very beautiful things to actually include in this reflective process. So that's one sort of activity that you can do. And then this is a little extract on journaling. So you might not have an opportunity to read all of it now, but I can suggest that you maybe make a screen grab of it and then go back and really read it quietly for yourself when you have the time, because it's quite a beautiful description of the various aspects of journaling. But for me, just in essence, journaling is, again, creating this opportunity, and it's the power of the pen. Sometimes just holding that pen in my hand and placing it on paper and starting to roll out. It's almost like my hand is connected to my heart and my head, and everything starts to flow from the head and from the heart and from the soul, actually, through the hand. And I feel it's very different to just reflecting mentally. Sometimes you can't help but reflect mentally because you might not have the chance, or it might not be the moment or the place to sit and write. But if you want to actually experiment and contrast between the two, you'll actually see the difference. Journaling is very constructive. It's very concrete. And again, like I was talking about the timeline, it's that active engagement that is actually part of the reflective process and enables you to draw out insights from within yourself that might not actually happen if it was a more passive way of reflection. And nowadays, if you don't have a diary that you can lock up and throw away the key, and if you don't want your secrets to be found, nowadays you can actually even download journal apps and things like that and keep it on your phone. And your phones have passwords and things, so then it would be private. Now, doing a timeline, writing in your journal, those are things that are coming really initially from the conscious mind. And then as the reflective process continues, sometimes there might be insights that are drawn out very gently and naturally from the unconscious mind. But this exercise here, called intuitive writing, is quite unique. It's very intriguing. And it's almost a way to directly access the unconscious. Looks a bit cryptic. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to actually increase this so that you get a chance to see it. So when you start doing intuitive writing, you start writing from the top left-hand side of the page, as you would normally. But as you notice here, when you come across to the right-hand side of the page, you turn around the corner and you actually come down the right side of the page. And you write all the way down to the right side of the page. When you come to the bottom of the right side of the page, you turn around the corner and you actually start writing across the bottom of the page, and you go all the way to the left side. When you go all the way to the left side, you then start writing upwards to come back to the top of the page, but obviously not right to the top because you've already written there. So you're going to actually go one level lower, and you're going to start on your second line, and you're going to continue writing. So you're actually writing in a spiral, if you can see, along the border of the page, then going into the inner level, and then following the same sort of fashion and going into, so you see we're coming down here on the right side, the second level, coming across on the second level, going upwards on the second level. When we get to the top, then what we're going to do is turn around the corner and we're going to go on to the third level, and so forth and so forth. And eventually, you're going to get to a point, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to actually reach the center, and that'll be the end of your reflection. And I have the confidence that eventually, by that point, you're going to reach your aha moment, as you see it written here. And I'll tell you what the secret is. And this is something that you might cringe at, but I'm going to challenge you to experiment with this. All the time that you're writing, you're going to actually be writing with your non-dominant hand. So if you're normally right-handed, when you start your writing, you're going to actually write with your left hand. And I increase the size of this so it's jumping all over there we go. At the start, we're going back to start here. So intuitive writing is the process or product of writing without using the conscious mind. And how we actually disengage the conscious mind so that the conscious mind doesn't interfere with our writing process is that we write with our non-dominant hand. So writing with the non-dominant hand is very, we're unfamiliar with it. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but I think a better word to use is awkward. It's a bit awkward because it's an unfamiliar process. And because it's awkward and unfamiliar, the conscious mind is going to be very actively engaged in actually just writing, holding the pen, forming the words, turning around the corner, going in that spiral fashion from outside all the way to the inside. So the conscious mind is going to be totally preoccupied with the simple action of writing, which then allows the conscious mind not to interfere. And what then will naturally emerge is all the intuitive stuff that is sitting as a deeper layer internally. And my suggestion is that after you've already chosen your picture, and it could have some significance for you in your journey of 2022, if you do your timeline, if you just sit and give yourself an opportunity to write, a few journal pages, normal journal pages on your journey of 2022, which is a deeper processing of whatever came up in your timeline, there's going to be a lot of almost raw material or data or a lot of sparks flying. You would have unearthed so much. And normally how we would process it is we would do it sometimes in an analytical fashion or in a linear fashion, whatever it might be. But a beautiful way to process it after doing all that unearthing is to just put your non-dominant hand on the top left-hand corner of the page and just start. You actually don't even need a journal prompt. You don't even need a question. You don't need a theme or a topic. After having done all of that preparatory work, you put your hand on that top left-hand corner, your non-dominant hands, and start writing, and you'll be amazed. You'll be absolutely amazed. There's going to be thoughts that come to your mind, and you're just going to be awkwardly writing around and around the page, and you come to the center. And you will be absolutely amazed at what comes up by the time you reach the middle. That is going to be your aha moment. I first tried this when we had a retreat for young adults at our headquarters in Mount Abu, the Brahma Kumaris headquarters in Mount Abu. And I remember it was the year that I actually had quite a major operation in the month of May. And I went off to this retreat in December. And there was a lot sitting inside of me through all those months of recovery, which was not a smooth recovery. And when I did that particular exercise, everything made sense to me. Absolutely everything made sense to me. And I realized what my way forward was, because I had lost a lot of my capacity. And I should say I have lost a lot of my capacity ever since then. But after I did that exercise, I was able to shift my perspective and realize that my mission was not to regain the capacity, but my mission was to actually reinvent myself, because it was a new me. So that was actually a very beautiful experience for me, and I can promise you that it will be quite nice for you also when you try it. And then with the Brahma Kumaris, and you know that meditation is our main tool. So apart from the timeline and the journaling and the intuitive writing, it goes without saying that meditation is the bow that wraps this entire package together very, very beautifully. And this picture is actually so beautiful. It's this old ancient bench nestled in this silent forest, or I don't know where it is, but overlooking this pond. And it gives me this feeling, of just this vast space, but being held and protected by nature and just looking out. Sometimes we might not have the opportunity to actually go and sit in a place like this. If you can, take yourself to a place like this to do some beautiful meditation, please do. But if not, you can actually visualize yourself in a space like this whilst you're doing your meditation. The one beautiful thing about meditation is that it's not just creative thinking, purposeful thinking. It's not even just positive thinking. It's elevated thinking. And so meditation actually lifts us out of the circumstances and the situations, the encounters, the experiences, the relationships that might be dominating our consciousness. we start off thinking about all of that. But the process of meditation helps us to elevate our thinking to a level higher than that, where we actually can see ourselves as more than just somebody who was involved in that, somebody who experienced that. And that's where the healing actually happens. That's where the soul can take power into itself to make the next step of the journey. And so our time is up. Actually, we've passed time. So I'd like to invite you to join me in a very short meditation. I'm going to turn my video off, and we can all just keep our eyes focused on this very beautiful image in closing, and engage in this meditation together. So just taking a long, deep breath in and centering the self. I see myself as an integral part of this beautiful scene of nature. Equal to the strong trees and the fresh, colorful leaves and the cool, quiet, still waters. All of these features resonate with such beautiful parts that lie within me. And just sitting quietly, casting my gaze outward. I ask myself this question. What have I been doing? Where have I been? What does it all mean to me? Where did my thoughts go this year? What captured the most precious part of me, my heart, my feelings? What have I been searching for? And how did I attempt to find it? And a myriad of different memories and experiences just flood my mind. As an observer, I see myself in every scene and in every situation, in every encounter. All those moments, those conversations, those messages, those meetings. All that effort, the work, the laughing, the playing. Give myself a chance to take it all in. Who is this being? Who is this individual attempting to shine through it all. I see myself as this separate entity, this silent, subtle, invisible star. I can also see how sometimes I even forgot who I was. And I couldn't see my beauty and my subtlety. And I got caught in the mundane. But I can also see the times in which there was a stirring, little reminders. Yes, this is me. This is who I am. This feels right. And so I hold on to that part right now. Everything around me is just feeling much lighter and softer. Even this beautiful place that I'm in nature, seeming to melt away. I just feel like I'm this tiny, soft and subtle star suspended in light, bathed in light. I hold on to this feeling of coming back to myself, coming back to my essence. Even without the trees and the clear waters, I can feel that I am strength. I am peace. I am that joy. Just sit here and enjoy this experience for a moment. It feels good to invest in myself. It feels good to be in alignment with my true purpose. Om Shanti. So, thank you very much for keeping me company this evening and for your attention and my best wishes to you. I really think that if you give yourself the time and opportunity to do these exercises for the next couple of days leading up to next Thursday, that you'll discover many beautiful treasures internally. So do enjoy, and please do come back and join us next Thursday for session 2.